It's been well over a month since we last saw Obafemi in NXT. Last time we saw Obafemi lose the NXT Championship to Ricky Sainz in an instant classic. And since then, fans had contemplated whether or not they were going to put WWE would put Obafemi on the main roster. However, this past Tuesday, after Ricky Sainz retained the NXT Championship in a hellacious last man standing match against Trick Williams, Obafemi returned and announced that he would be challenging Ricky Sainz for the NXT title at Gold Rush. However, no one knows if it's going to be on week 1 or if it'll be on week 2. However, this has sparked a lot of controversy and a lot of heat towards WWE because many members of the WWE universe believe that he should be on the main roster, where others believe that he should stay in NXT. But you're probably asking yourselves what my take is on the entire situation. Well, there is quite a bit of evidence that proves that Obafemi should go to the main roster, but there's also some evidence that proves why he should stay in NXT. Starting with going to the main roster. Obafemi has become arguably one of the most dominant champions we had ever seen in NXT history. I would probably say a lot more dominant than Adam Cole was as NXT champion. One of the biggest differences between Adam Cole as NXT champion and Obafemi as NXT champion is the fact that Obafemi didn't have to cheat and use underhanded tactics to defeat his opponents. He took his battles head on and proved why he became why he was known as the ruler of NXT. Where as opposed to Adam Cole, while it is true that yes, Adam Cole did become and was NXT champion for over 400 days, there had been multiple instances where he would rely on the rest of the Undisputed Era to help him retain a championship, whether it was the NXT North America title or the NXT title. He always found a way to use underhanded tactics to retain his championships and win matches. However, Adam Cole has always been veered as one of the most iconic superstars in NXT, and Obafemi is on that level. The only difference between the two is that Adam Cole never got the chance to compete on the main roster full time, as there were rumors that he was supposed to be on the main roster during the pandemic. Unfortunately, due to some social media reasons, WWE had chose to release Adam Cole of his contract with WWE, and now he is currently doing his own thing outside of WWE, just doing Adam Cole things, which is pretty good. That's all well and good for him, but Adam Cole definitely should have been a part of the main roster because he could have done a lot of damage as a solo star rather than be a part of a faction. However, with Obafemi, the moment he won the men's breakout tournament a couple years ago and became NXT champion, became the longest reigning NXT champion of all time, that right there was was one of the biggest proofs that Obafemi was indeed ready for the main roster. And imagine this, right? Like, imagine some of the big hitters that Obafemi could potentially go up against. Guys like Otis, guys like Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion. CM Punk, the World Heavyweight champion. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. CM Punk, the World Heavyweight champion. Who else? Any member of the Wyatt Six, the current tag team champions. Guys like AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, the World Tag Team champions. Guys like Ilya Dragunov, Solo Sikoa, any other member of the MFTs, Sami Zayn, Ilya Dragunov, the United States champion. There is a long plethora of talent that Obafemi could go up against. And imagine if he became a champion on the main roster, right? Like, if he became Intercontinental Champion, if he became United States Champion, WWE Champion, World Heavyweight Champion, he could have such a lengthy reign as champion. Like, when it comes to the Intercontinental Championship, the record is 666 days, held by Gunther. So imagine if Obafemi becomes Intercontinental Champion, he can potentially break that record by at least 3 weeks, and that would be okay. Because if he were to drop the title at that point, he would go down in history as one of the all-time greats. Because once you become Intercontinental Champion, you're basically a workhorse. You are the guy that has to defend the title on a regular basis, and if you don't, then you're just sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing with this title? I should be this champion. I should be this champion or that champion or something like that. Another piece of evidence that proves that Obafemi is ready for the main roster is his reign as NXT champion and as North American champion. I mean, again, think of all the accolades that he's had since being a part of NXT. Men's breakout tournament winner, NXT North American Championship, over 300 days, 300 plus days as champion. NXT champion, well over 273 days as champion. Held the title at New Year's Evil and at Halloween Havoc. It all came to an end. You heard me right. It was indeed Halloween Havoc. Actually, was it Halloween Havoc? Actually, no, it was not. It was not. No. It was No Mercy. It was No Mercy. Sorry, I apologize, you guys. I fumbled. That was a massive fumble. It was at No Mercy back in September. It was Halloween Havoc that Ricky Saints defended the title against Trick Williams. I humbly apologize. That was a massive fumble. Holy shit. Yeah, that was a big ass fumble. Moving on. Anyway, so as I was saying, No Mercy was when Obafemi dropped the NXT title to Ricky Saints, having have held the title over 270 days. In fact, I believe, if I can take a look, if I remember correctly, if I can find the NXT Championship, here we are. So right now, overall, the longest reign for the NXT title is indeed 403 days. That was set by Adam Cole, and Obafemi held the NXT title for 262 days, which is actually one of the longest reigns of the last 4, I would say, of the last 5 years, because when you really look at it, right? Because Adam Cole held the NXT Championship from June 1st, 2019 to July 8th, 2020. That's literally 400 days as champion. Braun Breaker held the NXT title for almost a full calendar year. Think about that. 361 days. 5 away from going a full calendar year. But Obafemi has defended the title against the list of who's who. Guys like Trick Williams, guys like Eddie Thorpe, guys like who else can I name? Just to name a couple. Those are just some of the guys, and then some, who he defended the title against, and he became such a dominant champion that he can do a lot of damage on the main roster. Now, as far as why people believe he should stay on the main roster, I think there are 2 reasons for it. The first is people believe that he still has one last championship run in him for NXT before he makes the jump. There have been multiple instances where someone from NXT would win the NXT championship on at least 2 separate occasions. Going down the list of guys who held the NXT title, right? When you have guys like Seth Rollins, who became the first ever NXT champion. Guys like Big E and Bo Dallas and Neville and Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, Drew McIntyre. All these guys and more all became NXT champion, but there were only a small few that held it on more than one occasion. The first was Finn Balor, who started his reign on July 4th, 2015, and that reign ended on April 21st, 2016, right around the time of WrestleMania, actually, funny enough, almost at that point. And then his second reign as NXT champion started during the pandemic, September 8th, 2020 to April 8th, 2021, which is again around the time of WrestleMania. The second was Samoa Joe. In fact, Joe is the only person in NXT to hold the title 3 times. The first was back in April. The first was back on April 21st, 2016, and his reign lasted until August 20th of that year. And then his second reign was from November 9th, 2016 to December 3rd, 2016. And his third and final reign actually started during the pandemic, which only lasted a couple of weeks due to injury during the pandemic. That was when he left NXT and left WWE altogether. The next person that became a 2-time NXT champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. The first time was in 2016, and the second time was in 2017. Then of course you have as well the only other person was Karrion Kross in 2020 and in 2021. And then Tommaso Ciampa was actually the other person that became 2-time NXT champion. The first time was back in 2018. Second time was back in 2021, which lasted until January 4th in 2022. The last person to become, the last two people to become NXT champion twice are Braun Breaker and Trick Williams. Braun Breaker in 2022 and in 2023, and then Trick Williams obviously just within this past year alone. People believe that Obafemi has one last run in him because they want him to become NXT champion from now until from Gold Rush until next year's Stand and Deliver. In which case, when he drops the title at Stand and Deliver, then he can go on to the main roster. But also the other reason, and it's actually one that makes sense. And it's actually, again, it's one that makes sense, but it's so controversial. And that is the potentiality that Obafemi might not get any screen time on the main roster, meaning that he could potentially get lost in the shuffle. Excuse me. After having a few matches on the main roster, get a few dubs. Once he loses, bam! Now he's lost in the shuffle, and now it's like, what the fuck do I do now? Literally, Obafemi is just sitting and catering, like, what the fuck do I do now? Which, again, it makes sense, right? Because there have been a lot of talent that have been a part of NXT for so many years, yet WWE knew that there would be nothing for them. Wes Lee is one of them. Desmond Xavier, he got released from WWE earlier this year because they knew that if he made the jump to the main roster, there would be literally nothing for him whatsoever. Which, it makes sense, and we totally get it. And it's crazy because we found out that he went back to TNA for the first time in about 6-7 years now, if I remember correctly, because I remember both Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, they actually both were a part of TNA for so long that when they made the jump over to NXT, known as Wesley, Nash Carter, MSK, they became one of the hottest tag teams in NXT. But when Zachary Wentz got himself caught in some bullshit and got released from WWE, Wesley went at it on his own and became one of the greatest North American champions of all time. But after that, there was just nothing for him whatsoever. So, as far as Obafemi goes, I totally get it. I think staying in NXT for one more year would be good for him. But when you get down to it, it brings back to the initial question: is Obafemi ready for the main roster? And the answer, as crazy as it sounds, is yes. I do believe that Obafemi is ready for the main roster for one single reason. It is simple. It is because he has done everything that he set out to do in NXT. He said that he was going to dominate the men's breakout tournament and win the whole thing. And he did that. He said that he was going to become NXT North American champion. He did that by cashing in his breakout tournament contract. He said that he was going to win the men's Iron Survivor. And he did that. He said he was going to become NXT champion. He did that. Now that he's setting his sights on a second run as NXT champion, Ricky Sainz has been champion for 49 days already. So right now Ricky Sainz is still young into his reign as champion, and I don't think Ricky Sainz is going to be giving up that title anytime soon. However, obviously things can change at any point. My opinion, though, is that it really doesn't matter who wins and who loses. Either way, either either Ricky Sainz or Obafemi, they're gonna end up on the main roster sooner than people may believe. But as far as Obafemi goes, if he gets called up to the main roster, he's basically, they're gonna turn him into another version of not Brock Lesnar, of Braun Strowman, where he wins a shit ton of oh, what do they call them? Enhancement matches, and then get a big feud going on with, I'll say just to name a guy, I'll say Damian Priest, or actually, you know what? No. You know what? Let me take that one back. Let me take that back. With Solo Sikoa, and then after a few years, he wins a championship. Then goes after the world title, making him a dominant champion, which could happen, but only time will tell. But on that note, that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE topic videos in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.